Hello, everybody. Welcome to the third episode of Techlytical podcast. Techlytical is a place where we four college friends come together, discuss our journeys, experiences, and learnings, and hope to impart some knowledge on the process. So, I'm your host Yaswant Narayan, your friendly neighborhood Android dev. I have with me Dheeraj,
Hi everyone, this is Dheeraj, a problem solver.
and I have Ayush,
Hey guys, this is Ayush, the vigilante hacker.
and I have Samarth.
Hey everyone, this is Samarth. I'm the guy who makes sure these three developers make beautiful things.
Cool. So, with this, let's get into the show. So, in our previous episode, we shared our views about placements and answered a few frequently asked questions and so on. So, before moving on to today's topic, I'd like to share one of my personal experiences. So, when I joined VIT, I chose computer science, and like any other computer science students in the first day of college, I was thinking maybe I'll be building AI like Jarvis, and then I'll be hacking into NASA like how they were showing in movies. And then very soon I realized those are just fantasies, and I need to choose something to work on, something which is realistic, so that I can like survive as a software developer and so on. And then later I saw everyone around me is doing something or the other, like web development, app development, backend, machine learning, blockchain, whatnot. So there was a lot of things that a computer science students can choose. So I was kind of confused. Like, we have so many things. What do we do? Do we do everything, or do we focus on one thing? And so I personally started by doing everything. That doesn't mean like I'm good with everything. So I just slowly started on web development and went into app development, peeked into backend, and then slowly app development became my thing because I was getting a lot of projects in that and so on. So as I was saying, this thing is a pretty confusing thing. So let me ask our friends over here how they chose their career paths and their domains and so on. So Ayush, I'll start with you. How should one
Sure.
decide? How should one decide on a domain to start learning? What are your views on this?
So it for me it depended upon what I wanted to do, and I always had this goal of ending up in cybersecurity, like as my career. So I chose my path accordingly, like the things that I wanted to try out. So one of the first few things that people would learn about when they start off in security is like how to do penetration tests on web applications or websites. And from that, I wanted to like learn more about the websites themselves, as I thought it will help me break into those websites basically. So that's how I started with like the first thing, web development. But even before that, from school, I guess I was always inclined towards programming. So I had stuck to Python as my primary daily driver programming language, I guess, for like scripting, building even applications and stuff. So that's how I went about like at least picking the topics that I wanted to learn. So I chose web development initially. I was doing Python scripting. I did a decent bit of backend web development. Did some operations work, how to handle servers with bash scripts and all, and so forth. So I picked those topics based on my liking towards security and whatever I felt would help me towards it.
Oh, nice, bro. So you are that person, I guess, who will hack into NASA soon. So Samarth, how would you answer this question? Like, how do you decide on a domain to start learning?
I think the best answer, if you've heard our previous podcast, would probably be the T model that Yashwant talked about. But I'll kind of take it through a story kind of a way that how I kind of decided my domain, wherein my domain is much different than anybody present here. I have done electronics and communication engineering and have gone into product design. So that's kind of something which always, people just stare into that. Why did you choose designing or something like that? But it all started out in 7th and in my 10th class, wherein the only thing that they teach you in school is probably development using Java, C++, or HTML, CSS. And when I got into college, I did not actually know what all fields are there and what all specific domains are there. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people, even in their second year and third year in colleges, do not know about that stuff. So when it comes to that sense, I was very, very vague in what I knew and what I wanted to do. I kind of thought that I always had a thought that how do projects work, how do products work, how do they have so much stuff baked into it, because all I thought was I'm just printing the value of X and Y using C++. How do people convert it into that step? So that's wherein my research came in, and when I researched around it, I kind of understood that what all stuff is required in development, and then I kind of understood that no, this is not a lake. This is even bigger than a sea or something like that. So when I kind of understood that step, I always wanted to know that I have to learn stuff. Then only I can decide what domain I can go into. And I kind of joined a community, and I started taking part in different projects. And in each and every project, I did different kind of things. And in one project, just one thing clicked for me, in which I had to make a UX, and people praised me for it. And then I said, if people are praising me for it, then I am good at it. So I kind of went deep into that domain and decided that I just want to do this. I want to do product design, and I want to get into this domain. So my advice for anybody out there is don't worry if you do not know stuff. You will eventually learn about that stuff. Do not worry at all about it. Do not worry if you do not know stuff. You just have to talk to people. You just have to learn from people, and you just have to keep practicing. And at one point, you'll just fall in love with it, I think.
Well, that's a nice thing Samarth said. So basically, when you are exploring a lot of things, you'll get to know that you are doing good when people start praising you. That's a really nice point over there, Samarth. So Dheeraj, what would you say for this?
Right, when I joined my college, I always wanted to build something for the next billions, and that's where I started exploring all the domains. Basically, in my journey, I watched videos regarding different technologies, I read blogs, I talked to my seniors, I did a quick analysis, and I understood one thing: like, in the absence of information, we jump into the worst conclusions. So from my point of view, like, when one is going to decide a domain to start learning, he should gather information from each and every domain, whatever the domains that are existing, and then only he can decide like what all the domains he should go into, which domain he should choose for his career. So from my journey, I explored blockchain, I explored mobile app development, I explored web development, and now I am a full stack web developer, as I wanted to own the systems end to end. I always wanted to understand the business, gather requirements. I wanted to be a voice of the customer, designing and collaborating with the other teams, reviewing their code, and testing and driving the system quality. So that's all.
Wow, that's so nice. That's one valid point you said there, is gather information about everything. So that is correct, actually. Instead of blindly just learning everything and then going into choosing one, you could just rather gather information. That's a nice thing. And you said you're going to be voice of the customer. Nice. I'd like to see that. Cool. So for me, it was like, if someone asks me how it is going to be, like, how would you start learning, how would you choose a domain and then start learning towards it? So for me, it's this thing. First of all, you need some kind of inspiration to keep you motivated, and then start learning towards it. So for example, when I started doing Android development, my motivation was my seniors, actually. So I saw them, they were like, oh my god, they built such beautiful apps, and it was so awesome. So maybe I need to get into that level. So that kind of motivation also matters, I guess, for this. So this brings up another question in my mind. So we said that basically we experiment a lot of stuff. So when did we even realize the importance of trying different domains, and what made us realize that? So Dheeraj, can you share some thoughts about this?
Yeah. So the importance of trying different domain came into my mind when I saw people in my surrounding trying different domains. So I am kind of a personality who gets influenced when someone is doing stuffs that is interesting. I get into that. So basically I started from there, and I started realizing that these many domains are there. Maybe I should go explore them, because you cannot check the depth of a river by putting both your feet inside that. So basically you need to gather information, as I said earlier.
So Dheeraj, yeah, that was a nice reference over there. So can you also tell us what all technologies that you have experimented with and your views on that?
I started up with Android app development, where I built a Animoji app, like in Android, a basic Animoji app for my friends, because they were very fascinated with the Apple Animoji that time. And I have experimented with React Native, React, blockchain, Spring Boot, Node.js, and Django. So my views are like every other domain is good in its way, but it's depends upon the interest. So basically I got more interested in developing full stack applications. So mostly I work with now Django and React plus Node.js.
That's so true. Even I know that, like when you build cool apps, like your friends, like when you show it to your friends, that feeling is like next level. I understand that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, Ayush, coming to you. When did you realize the importance of trying different domains?
For me, it was two factors actually. That first one being that security itself seemed like a very vast domain to learn things about. When you start off, you realize okay, most of the resources that one can find are primed towards web applications and hacking websites basically. This is primarily due to the reason that bug bounty hunting in the recent years has been a very popular thing to go about doing right now, and most bug bounty platforms have listings of websites. Whereas if one actually digs a little deeper, they'll find that there's a whole lot to do in security, like even on the offensive side. So there's web applications, there's Android applications, and then you can go into the network side of things. You could go into reverse engineering, figuring out bugs and then doing things about that. And coming to the defensive side, there's again a whole lot of things to do there. So that kind of made me have this epiphany that okay, there's a lot of things to do in security. Which ones are the things that I like and I would want to pursue? So for the most part, I stuck to website and maybe a bits of networking and the server side things. And the other bit was the college itself. So being in school, you're in this bubble sort of a place, because there's not a lot of freedom to what you can do with your curriculum there, right? And the syllabus that, as Samarth or someone pointed out, it's basically primed towards Java or like not older, but like not that great languages for starting out maybe. So like C, C++ or something like that. So I started with Python, and then I was aware of it. But then I was very restricted in the things that I was supposed to, like I could do with Python basically. So when I came into college, I was seeing all those seniors of mine doing all sorts of cool things with the same language that I've always been using, like AI, writing scripts, writing automation, even building backend systems and things like that. And that kind of gave me this overview that okay, not scripting is what I've been doing, not programming necessarily, and there's a whole lot of things to explore and do. And I kind of had this anxiety about it as well, that hey, what if I did not like security as much as something that if I experiment I'd like more. So that kind of like made me to go about like exploring different things.
Yes, that's nice thing. So I can understand. So security is not just something of a domain itself, it is kind of a mixture of all other domains, you say. That's correct. So when you started exploring all these domains, how did you not drift into anything else, and how did you choose your career, like to be a security engineer or something?
It was something that I was influenced towards I think in school itself, because I mean, like I think when I was in school, it was the time when things were happening and security or hacking, actually, as per the media puts it, was gaining traction, right? And you'll see news articles, even newspapers saying things like this bank got hacked or something like that. So I, like that kind of always interested me. I've always been interested towards programming. I started Python when the curriculum was C++ because I was tired with the syntax. But then reading some influential material about security, how things happen there, there's this really cool article or essay, I would say, by this guy who goes by the handle The Mentor. The article is called The Hacker's Manifesto, and it's a brilliant piece of writing. I mean, I really find it very cool to like at least go through once, and it kind of resonated with me. So I knew the career that I wanted to make, at least till I joined college. And after that, joining the college bit, I had that experience with that anxiety that, hey, what if I like something else more? So experimenting towards it, finding new things, doing some bit of front end, going about doing back end, exploring different kinds of stack. I did some Java. I mostly stuck to Python, Django, like Dheeraj. And I then explored server side of things. I even like did a whole like full on drift towards switching to Linux with like a no Windows policy for myself that I imposed, that I will not use Windows for anything, just to make sure that I learn things about it. And I did the most cliched thing that a guy towards security does, is that I installed Kali Linux, and then I use that as my daily driver. Now that's not something that I'd advise to the people who are listening onto this, because it breaks all that too often. And even though it taught me a lot of things about Linux systems and everything, because every other week I was ending up like fixing the distro, taking backups and everything, so that if something goes wrong, I still have my files and my project work. But yeah, like doing things like these is basically gave me the insight of realizing that I like security in the end, and my decision was right from the beginning. Oh, thank you.
Yes, that's nice. So, now I regret not watching a lot of news and reading newspapers. Maybe I could have also chosen my domain.
Yeah.
Cool then. So yeah, Samarth, do you have any points regarding this? Like, how do you start realizing? When did you start realizing that it's important to try different domains? Because yeah.
I mean, the time I realized I needed to learn more about different domains was when I kind of got into a leadership position. Let's say, when you look at a project from a leader's perspective or a higher perspective, you kind of realize that what all is involved in the project, and then you kind of understand that, hey, it's not just me who is doing this project a good thing. There are a lot of people who are doing this, playing part in this project. There's a lot of things that are happening, and if I align my work with them better, then I can probably build something much better and much faster. And that's where I realized that yes, I need to understand different topics as well. And because if I'm a designer, I'm talking about a designer's perspective. If I do not understand how developers work, I would probably just build something that suits me, but it would not make it easier for other people to work. And understanding that perspective of it, I kind of thought that maybe I should go into different projects, different topics, and try out different things. And when I tried out different things, I kind of understood that what I wanted to stick to and what all I wanted to understand as well. Because at the end, if I do not understand other things, my main focus would also get impacted with just the stack involved.
Oh yes, nice. I totally understand the part where you're being a designer, you just can't design stuff and throw it on developer's face. I totally get it, bro. So you have to, yes, understand the development side of it. That's totally true. And so the one thing over here what I'd like to add is the importance of like trying out new domains for me is because when I used to talk to different people who is working on different domains, I felt like, oh my god, am I not knowing anything? Is it like CS people, do they need to know all these things and am I not learning? So I was thinking in that perspective, and then I started exploring a lot. So we all shared how important it is to explore different domains and everything. So I guess we can also discuss how can one start about exploring these domains. I mean, what are domains are there for people to explore and stuff like that. Maybe Samarth, can you tell us more about this?
I mean, if you're looking to get into different kinds of domains, I think the best way to probably go ahead with that is probably doing projects and recreating stuff that's online as well. I mean, you do not have to start out everything from scratch. The best way to learn properly is to look at how other people do it and what all they've built, and not copy paste their code, but kind of understand how their algorithms work and how you can improve it and try and work around it. And once you start doing that, you kind of understand other people's workflow. Let's say someone has built a backend, and why did they choose Django over Node.js or Node.js over Django in a certain scenario? I mean, once you understand that, then you kind of understand that why it is such a deep topic, why backend is such a deep topic. And similarly, when it comes into different topics, when you get into a project and when you understand that why certain things are done in a certain way, you understand what you need to do and what has to be done and why certain things are taken up. In certain projects, cloud domains are not required for you to manage services. In certain of them, they might be needed. So you kind of figure that out as soon as you build projects. And I think the best way to learn also and to also grow is to just keep working into projects. And you do not have to do it yourself. There are multiple ways of doing it. You can either join a community, you can do it with your roommates, your friends, or certain people you're interested in. At the end, a community is that only. It just gives you a platform for that. If you have people around you who do the same thing as you, or they are interested in development or design or whatever, just talk to them and get started on a project, or find people online. I mean, if you're that kind of a person who does not like talking to people and can blabber all they want on the internet, then sure, go online, talk to people. I mean, you'll find a lot of communities. You'll find Spectrum, you'll find Reddit, and you'll find a lot of people over there, very interesting people over there, who have interesting ideas and who will obviously contribute to your ideas as well. So that could be a very good platform to learn technologies.
Yes, that's so true. Even in my case, that is how I started. So by doing small project, by replicating small stuff, and that's how you actually kind of see how easy it is or how tough it is for you and how you feel and all. That's so true. So adding on to this, so I would say like if you're there are a lot of things like in just technical computer science. We have machine learning, we have blockchain, or we have front end, back end, app development. Yes, we have a lot of stuff. But one way to approach it from my side is think of a project not specific to domain. Think of a random project, like you don't know anything about whether it involves front end, whether it involves back end, or you don't need to think about it. Just think of a random project and like get to explore like what all you need to learn to finish that project, and maybe that way you get to explore a lot of things. That is my view on that. So, Dheeraj, what would you say? What are all the domains that are available for people to explore?
Yeah, Yashwant, adding on to what you said, choosing a project, I would say like rather choose a problem, and that problem will ultimately become a project. So if you choose a problem, then you need to decide on like how can you solve that problem. So solving that problem will make you divide that problem into some sub problems, and those sub problems might become a separate project for you. So ultimately you'll be able to experiment the domains. But in my case, like I did wrongly. So in my first year, what I did was I just went into mobile app development without even talking to anyone, without even consulting to anyone. I did not join any community also. So my first advice to anyone who want to find out what you all can do is just join a community. So in that community, you'll be having someone whom you can approach to and talk to, like Samarth said, and he can guide you maybe, or the other way you can watch some videos and read blogs.
That's so true. Like even for me, I would say joining this community really helped me because I get to hear a lot of different perspective of different things. So that also helped me explore. So Ayush, do you have any thoughts on this?
Okay, so I guess you guys covered it all up, but I'll just add a brief point about, so when I would like to talk about how to go about talking, or like how to think about what to experiment with or how to try out a domain, I would suggest one to like decide which category they fall into from the two that are basically whether one knows what career options they want or to pursue as their professional over time, or are they unaware of that right now and they're trying to find that domain that they want to pursue as like their full-time job at some point. So if it's the guy who's unaware of that domain, it's the right way to go would be what Yashwant and Dheeraj said, that you could think of a problem statement, and from that problem statement derive what projects you could do, right? So I'd give you a brief example. Is something recently, there's this website called CFP Time, which basically lists a lot of call for proposals for conferences. That's where you just submit a proposal with, hey, I want to give a talk or a session on so and so topic. But the thing is, it did not have, say, an RSS feed or some notification system. So you would have to go to the site manually and take a look at, okay, there's a new CFP available here. But I'm a little lazy, a little being understatement. So what I did was I looked at the website, they had an API, and what I ended up doing was, from that problem statement that I do not want to go to that website every time I have to look for it, I wrote a simple Python script that would check it periodically and let me know if there's a new one and send me an email on every time there's a new listing there. And I just pushed it to Lambda. So I had to look for different kinds of deployments that would suit this and things around that. So you could take inference from that. Coming to people who know what they want to pursue, or at least they have a brief idea about it, which might change. That's perfectly fine if it changes over time. But if you know what you want to do, basically like me, so you'd want to research more about what are the subdomains in that topic. As Yashwant said, ML or AI, or saying web development, it's very broad actually, to be very honest. Even in something as simple as web development, it's not as simple as it sounds. And there's web designing, there's web development, there's a whole bunch of things that maybe like others are more qualified to talk about. But once you decide on a domain, you can then like talk about or research upon from articles, blogs, videos, and courses, any resource that you find fine. What are the subdomains, and then maybe do a little bit of research on that, because once you started learning something and then you find it not that useful towards what your goals are, then you've just wasted a certain duration of time, right? So it's good to do some research before you start diving into something.
That's good. So that's one point that Ayush mentioned, is that domain and subdomain. So basically every domain does have subdomain. Probably exploring that subdomain might have piqued your interest and something. So that's a good way to explore domains. So this brings us to conclusion that we do try out a lot of domains and we end up choosing one to explore deeply. That is fine. But I have this question where how do we even know that we have explored a domain properly? And how did you guys know that you didn't like that domain after exploring? So Dheeraj, can you share something about this?
Yeah, I'd like to share, like, I was doing Android development in my first 2 years of college life, and I got 2 internships in Android development. One was at a well-known company, and I built apps, which is currently in Play Store and is one of the most downloaded one. But still, after delivering those applications also, I did not feel from inside that I've done something great, or I felt very proud of myself. Like, I made app which is being used by millions of people, and it was my dream also to build for the next billions. So at this time, maybe someone can realize that, hey, I don't like that domain anymore, because even I'm able to deliver those results, I'm like a slave who is working on a technology, but he is not feeling content with that. So this is the time when you must realize that, okay, you don't like that domain, you need to switch that domain. And as you have delivered that result, you know that you have tried out that domain properly.
Oh, that's nice, Dheeraj. You built an app for millions, but I'm surprised that still you're not moved by those kind of things. So now, after this Dheeraj answer, I'd like to say that, so if I was in Dheeraj's place at that point, I would have definitely been like, okay, cool. So this is it. This is my thing. So Android development. Even though being an Android developer, I haven't built apps for millions yet in my personal project, but still I took Android development. So that also comes this personality. So it's like whatever we can say at the end of the day, I guess personally you would feel that itch inside you, like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And that's when you start exploring it. And so Ayush, can you say anything about how one has explored domain, and how did you not like the domains you explored and ended up being a security researcher?
So I'll answer the second question first. So how I decide whether a domain is not for me is that I kind of find it easy to decide, because when I explore a domain and I find it, I would say, uninspiring, and I realize that if I do this day in day out, I'll feel bored. I just figure out that this is not for me to do. So based on this criteria, and this could vary from person to person. Like some people like things that are very procedural, right? So if they know, I do this step 1, 2, 3, and this is done. There are people who like this, but I personally, I'm not the person who's gonna like stick to that procedure. I would like to experiment more or figure new things out or new ways to do the same thing. Coming back to the question, when did I decide, or like when do I decide I've tried out a domain properly? It's when I know that I have enough time and energy spent on that domain, irrespective of whether I like it or not, that I can work towards it. Like if I have to, for example, I personally did not like doing front-end web development, but I ensured that even though I knew midway that I did not really like it and I would not pursue this as like a full-time thing ever, I knew that if I stop right now, I would have very basic knowledge, which is almost useless. I will not be able to utilize it in any real sense. And that would have equal to me wasting that amount of time I spent on learning that, right? So I make sure that I spend enough time that I realize that I have enough skills to at least utilize it in some meaningful manner. So when I did like front-end development, I made sure that I learned enough front-end technologies or even like some frameworks or used some tools or something like that. So I'll know when I have enough knowledge about that front end, so I can at least edit templates maybe, or create a single page application, or I can like fix maybe minor errors or something like that.
Yes, that's nice. So like one thing I'd like to add over here is so when you're exploring a domain, so you will come across a lot of projects which is done in that domain. So I would say that you would have explored that domain well if you could by yourself tell that okay, this kind of seems doable. So when you see a project and you say, this is doable, I can do that. So if you have that kind of feeling, then I would say that's when you kind of explore the domain a bit deeper and all, and then maybe later on you can decide if that interests you or not. So Samarth, do you have any points to add on to this? Like how did you not like any other domain and end up being in that?
So when it comes into the point of deciding what you like and what you don't like, I think the only way to decide on something, if it's nice or not, or if it's your piece of cake or not, is to try it out. And you cannot judge anything by just listening to stuff from people or not giving a try yourself. And it's just the same as not judging a book by its cover. I mean, there are a lot of conflicting opinions everywhere, and everybody has their own opinion because something or the other matches with someone's personality. And at the end, your profession or what domain you like should match with your personality and how you figure it out. And if you do not try out other stuff, you will probably end up not understanding that why you like your domain in comparison to other domains, or even if there are other domains, why you don't like them or why you have a certain opinion on them. And this is where I think your friends play a huge importance, or friends or anybody around you play a very, very big importance in your life, because you enjoy doing anything once you do it with some other person or someone you like. There is nothing in life you will enjoy or excel at if there is nobody around you that motivates you, that makes it feel nice. Or if you're not happy doing it, at the end you will not like doing it. So whenever you again, I come back to the point that join a place where you will learn stuff. It could be a class for you as well. It could be your university as well. It could be your course as well. Or it could just at the end be a Facebook group where you chat with 5 people. But you need certain people around you who kind of motivate you to keep pushing and keep testing out stuff and keep exploring stuff, or either they are exploring stuff, so that you get certain view from people who you depend on or who you can rely on. And once you get those opinions from them, then only you can decide that what is fine and what is not fine. Like for me, I had three amazing people around me who are currently in this podcast as well, who kind of told me about Android development, why they switched from different language to another language, why they have taken a certain cross-platform application or certain like something like that, why they have taken security, backend, or even web development. And once I had their opinions, I kind of understood that yes, this is something that interests me, and this is something that does not interest me. If a friend of yours is talking about it for 15 minutes and you're still bored, then you probably should not go for that. And if a friend of yours is talking to you for 15 minutes and you're intrigued by it and you just fall in love with it, you should give it a try. And that's your second step. If you give it a try, then only you realize if it's your cup of tea or not.
Wow, Samarth, that's a really nice point that people around you really, really do influence a lot on what you decide actually. So basically for me, it was the same thing. When I started doing app development and I showed my friends, hey, look at this. Although it was this really very simple print hello world kind of a program in Android world. And then when I showed them, they were very happy and they were fascinated. I was like, oh, nice. Like was this built by you? Like, did you build it and put it on your phone? So when they are like excited about what you are doing, and you will be motivated to do that. So that is so true, someone. Like we need good set of people around us who can keep us motivated. So this is that. So one thing that now I'm kind of worried about is, now that I've chosen a domain for myself, let's say for me it's like the app development. So I always have this question, right? Is my life going to be Android app development and that's all? Like, won't I get any opportunity to explore new things or anything like that? So can anyone help me demystify what can be done? So let me start with Ayush. So can you tell me something about this?
Sure, man. So I guess it's a little contextual on the role that you're applying or like are a part of as your day-to-day job. But I believe it's very much possible to switch roles. But you'll have to obviously put in the work as well. So for example, you, Yaswant, talking specifically about you, if you want to ever switch to security, Android security or like mobile app security is probably the most smooth or fluid transition that you can have in security, right? But then that does not mean that you cannot have a pen tester role towards web application or even like a defensive side role. That's something that I do, right? So it's very much dependent upon what you want to do and whether you're willing to put in efforts to make that switch, because obviously it will require twice the amount of effort, right? If you're doing something full time and then you want to switch to completely off the charts and say, for example, something like design, right? So it's a different field altogether. And hence you also have to put in enough work to be able to be as good as other people that are already working there and have more experience than you. So it takes that extra bit of effort towards switching, but it's very much doable and one can surely work towards it.
Yes, that's a good motivation for me. So let me hear it from Samarth once. So Samarth, what do you say? Like for example, you have chosen this design like domain for yourself, and like how do you think you can change profiles, or is it even possible or something like that?
I think when it comes to a certain thing as deciding a profile, or you're just feeling bored with what you're doing, I mean that's I think something that was an issue 10 years back. Now there are so many opportunities around you to do whatever you like. There are so many options for you to switch, and even if you feel that you've taken a certain path and it gets stagnant after a while, I mean it does not. I mean you excel in your career, you change your positions in career, you move from a lower position to a higher position, and as and when you start taking in more responsibility, you kind of start communicating with other teams as well. You start understanding that how other teams work, how other heads work, how different verticals of a company work, and that's where you expand your horizon as well, and you get in more opportunities for you as well. And once, let's say, if you started out as a designer and you at the end kind of went into a role of a product manager, managing a product, understanding how developers work as well, other companies would kind of look at you as that, no, he's handled product management at this company, he could probably fit into that role in our company as well. So even if you want to stick to your domain, there's a lot of way to escalate vertically as well. But if you just want to go horizontal, and switch to something very, very different from your profile. I mean, it's the 21st century. You do not have to worry about it. You have so much stuff around you. You have the internet around you. Find opportunities. Why not pick up something freelance while you're doing your job? If you're not feeling that motivated while doing your job, take a break. If you still have something dependent on you, work on the side. As I said, you need to put in hours for that. Then do something on freelance, learn something, and if while learning that you feel that okay, this is something that currently is more motivating for me in comparison to my current profile, make the switch. I mean, nobody's stopping you from switching. I have seen people who are 20, 30 years into their careers have taken horizontal switches in their career from one vertical to another vertical and handling different technologies and doing different stuff. If they can do it, we, even in early in your career or even late in your career, who's stopping you from doing it? Even if one person can do it, you can also do it.
Well, yeah, those points are really, important that I should keep in mind. That's so true. And Dheeraj, what would you say on this topic?
Yeah, Ayush and Samarth pretty much they summed up everything. The only thing I want to say is just you need to be focused and motivated that you want to change your career path or you want to switch to a different profession altogether. And that's all you need to change your career. That's it.
So yes, so I think I got my answer here. So basically, even though being an Android developer, I still can go on to other domains. Yeah, I'm happy now. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, you
Cool.
can switch to designing also someday.
Oh yes,
Free
yeah.
courses at samarth.com.
Yes. Awesome. I'll check that out definitely. So, as we come to the end of the episode, I'd like to wrap up by summarizing all the stuff that we have discussed. So, basically, we explore a lot of domains, go deep into it till the point that we decide, nah, this is not for me, and then go to choose one domain where we get that love at first sight, as well as a lot of encouragement and support from other people, and then you get this kind of appreciation that, wait guys, I mean, you are doing great at this, so continue doing that. So till that point, keep exploring, and then even after you decide one domain for you, so you can still change that. So keep going on it, don't worry. So that's how it is. So guys, thank you for tuning in and staying with us till the end of this episode. Please do check out other episodes. Search for Techlytical in whatever podcast app you have, it'll show up. And do follow us on our social media, Instagram, Twitter, and do reach us out if you have any queries or improvements. We'll be happy to help you out on that. So thank you and hope to see you next time.